1st, 2021, called a committee meeting of the Port Allen City Council on Water. At this time, I'd like to request everyone to turn off the silent and electronic devices. Get started. Mr. Bruce Bass, you lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the Public Safety Committee to order, establish a quorum. We have a roll call, please. Here.
Ms. Lacy?
Here.
Ms. Gordon?
Present.
All present.
Item number 4, the Police Department report.
Good evening, how y'all doing?
Good evening.
Mayor leading Public Safety Committee in order to keep both myself and the City Council aware of the activities of Port Allen Police Department offered this account for the month of August 2021. Alarm, home, and business, 41. Assist Port Allen Fire Department, 4. Harassment, 4. Suspicious person, 8. Shots fired, 4. Disturbance, 25. Theft, 12. Suspicious activity, 8. Remaining after being forbidden, 5. Check person, 11. Civil matters, 6. Suspicious vehicles, 6. Port Allen Fire Department, medical, 35. Assisted person, 6. Traffic stop, 8. Animal control, 7. Incidents by location, northeast of Court Street in LA 158, northwest of Court Street in LA 175, southeast of Court Street in LA 155, southwest of Court Street in LA 171, and south of I-10. Total suspects arrested was 21, traffic crashes 26, and traffic tickets 17.
Chief, when you say check person, this was a person of interest or?
Just a welfare check. Sometimes people will call, they haven't heard from a family member or a neighbor, haven't seen them, and they'll call, ask them to do a welfare check on them.
That's a lot of calls.
Well, yeah.
And Chief, on last month, of course, you know, I'd be remiss not to even discuss it, being that this was something that I partook in. With the allegations with the Futrell case and all that took place. I know you said, I read the write-up, and you wasn't at leisure to talk about it at that time. Are you at leisure to talk about anything going on with the case now? Or how do you feel about the litigation with, including, you know, I mean, as in just the allegations of the being involved? Like, how do you feel about moving forward in it?
Due to the fact you got 15 litigation.
You're asking about the investigation into the homicide itself?
Yes.
I mean, the chief can give a general status of the investigation, but if you couldn't go into specific details on, you know, the investigation itself, and in terms of the civil lawsuit, we would not recommend it.
No, not
on the civil lawsuit.
Not that. Like, where do that put you maybe with the investigation after having the new findings and like, where do that put you maybe with getting more locked into it? Like, where are you with that?
Well, the lead detective, he's still getting himself familiar with everything. So once he's getting caught up in with everything that's going on, then he will move forward with it.
So nothing else, nothing?
No, ma'am.
I don't think you want to speak like that in public. Maybe you might need to go in his office and speak with him one-on-one with that. If you can, you know, maybe he can answer you better then in the opening where he can incriminate himself one way or the other. So, I mean, I don't know what answer he can give you or I can give you, but maybe he may feel comfortable talking to you in his office.
Would you rather if I come talk to you one-on-one?
We have a brief conversation.
Because, I'm invested in these crimes and wanting to get some of these murders solved. You know that. And when they have new information and new things arrive, I just feel like to discuss it.
I understand.
Anything else for the chief? Thank you, chief.
Thank y'all.
Item number 5, the nuisance violation report. Inspector Gibbons.
Good evening, council, mayor, guests. For the month of August, I have a total of 13 cases, 12 high grass, 1 junk and abandoned vehicle. I have 8 open, 2 liens, and 3 closed.
Is there anything, updates on the property on Jefferson?
I actually talked to him today. He says he's more than welcome to, he's more than willing to get all that stuff moved. He just in the process of trying to, pay more people due to the hurricane. He had to stop for a second, but he moved a bunch of stuff around. He's supposed to be moving those sea trains around, and he's trying to make it more presentable, even though it's, they had stuff over there. He's trying to make it more presentable so it wouldn't look like a junk pile over there. So he has cleaned up a little bit, and he's like, once he gets some dry weather, he's gonna start cleaning up the rest of it. Hopefully next week.
Anything else for land? Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. You have a good evening.
Item number 6, update the clean water report.
Yeah, we received a request to consider updating the report that's on the website, and just to clarify the matter, that report was for calendar year 2019, which was issued in 2020, and we tried a different approach last year. We placed it on the website and put a notice on the bills that it was on the website. Traditionally, we have published it in the West Side Journal. That's what was done for probably the last 20 years or more. We did have a complaint last year that we should have published it when we posted it on the website. So this year we went back to what we've done traditionally, and it was published in the West Side Journal on June 17th of 2021. And that notice indicated that it would not be mailed, that it would not be posted on the website, but that a copy could be obtained here if necessary or requested by a constituent. So it was just a different approach we tried last year in order to save a few bucks. It's quite expensive to post that report in the newspaper, and then this year we reverted back due to some complaints. So we'll figure it out. We're required to publish it or send it directly in the bills if possible, but it's multiple pages, and we don't have the capacity to fold and stuff those unless we do it by hand. Like I said, we've traditionally done it in the West Side Journal, so we went back to that route this year.
Mr. Hubble?
That explains it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Item number 7, adjourned.
Call to order. Establish a quorum. Roll call.
Ms. Gordon,
Present.
Mr. Riviere,
Here.
Mr. Brown.
Here.
One present.
Item 4, discuss bid proposal for installation for the remaining 2 EPA pump in connection with the previous authorized emergency repair project at the wastewater treatment facility.
As you know, we had a major failure at the wastewater treatment plant of all 3 effluent pumps back in May. We installed a hot tap and a temporary pump until we could obtain the pumps for the entire United States. The remaining 2 pumps, which have since been received, Mr. Araco submitted bid packages to 5 different contractors, and the result of that was a low bid of $14,790 by Spinks Construction to both of the pumps. The agenda for next week for approval, the pump replacement, that repair.
Any question? Item number 5, discuss budget amendment for installation of sewage infrastructure for Cohen Park and Florida Street in connection with a $400,000 per Article 2 appropriation in the state budget.
Yes, in working with our legislative delegation, we received a $400,000 appropriation in the state budget. It's priority 2, meaning that it's not guaranteed, but depending on the availability of funds, it will be available as a line item. In that regard, we have since discussed with some engineers about how to best utilize that funding. And because of the development of that park and additional property that is between 14th Street and 10th Street, we would have to install sewer infrastructure in that area as part of building the roads and completing the development. So we just kind of want to get ahead of the game and get a budget amendment process started so that once the plans are done and the money is received, we can go ahead and best utilize those funds. We would have to install sewer from 14th Street going east to 10th and along what would be Florida Avenue. The plan is to install Florida to the south of the park, Kentucky Avenue to the north of the park, 12th Street to the east, which would break the property up in half, roughly, and then put the infrastructure in along those streets while we do the street construction so that we won't have to go back and do it again. That will provide sewer access to the park as well as to the privately owned property that's developable beyond the park on east side of Florida and Kentucky. Now, granted, we're only looking to go as far as 12th Street, but putting the lines in will allow us to connect to those lines coming back from that private property, which would be the responsibility of those developers to bring that line back to ours. But the park is ours, so we would have to put in lines in those areas in order to access the sewer system.
The $400,000, would there be any kind of match that we would have to?
It's a $100,000 match for the city. So we would have to appropriate the $100,000 and then plan for the entire $500,000. And once those plans are done, we can give more information as to what we specifically want to do.
So that is for the Cohen Park, correctly?
That is Cohen Park.
So are we still gonna be having the Cohen Park? Because I was thinking that they was trying to get it back from us. So,
Well,
do you understand what I'm asking?
I understand your question, and in the event that becomes some type of litigation, the answer I would feel most comfortable providing is that we currently own Cohen Park, and we plan to proceed with that ownership.
Because I don't want us to invest in this money and then they come and take it from us, or...
We have no intention of investing any unnecessary resources. However, with us owning the property where the park equipment is currently located,
Right.
we would still be responsible for connecting
to the
over that portion of the property to get to the main. So if we ever want to develop the property that's
further back.
to the east of that, then we would have to provide some infrastructure in the form of streets at least to get to that point. Now, if a developer wants to come in and connect to our street for the remaining portions, that's on them. But we would at least have to provide streets and infrastructure for the sewer system on our property, and that includes the park itself. The park doesn't have sewer connections as of yet, so.
Okay.
And Mr. Joseph, don't forget to mention also the closure of the canal.
Well, yeah,
which will also include
that's part of the project, but once, I didn't go into specifics. I meant to say that once the engineers come back with the plans, they're gonna determine what's best, how to get the most bang for our buck, but that would include enclosing that canal, installing culverts, and making sure that it looks nice and presentable in the area. Any questions? Thank you.
Adjourn.
Community Development Committee, item number 1, call to order. Item number 2, establish quorum. Item number 3, roll call.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Ms. Lacy?
Here.
Mr. Hubble?
Here. Item number 4, adjourn.
That's good.
Call the Personnel Committee to order to establish a quorum. Could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Hubble?
Here.
Ms. Gordon?
Present.
Mr. Riviere? Here. Quorum is present.
Thank you. Item number 4, request to advertise for 2 labor 1 positions in road and drainage due to the retirement of Carl Dunn and termination of Corey Kastner Jr.
So, with respect to this item, the information has changed somewhat. You've just received a memo referencing Mr. Kastner's employment status with the city. His termination has been rescinded. It has been converted to a suspension, 51 and a half hours from August 23rd, 2021 through today, September 1st. He will be reporting back to work tomorrow, September 2nd, at the same step and grade that he was previously employed. And with respect to Mr. Dunn's position, the mayor would like to promote our current part-time employee, Calvin Skelton, to full-time to fill that position. So what we really want to present for next week is a request to advertise for 2 part-time laborers in the roads and drainage department, which we customarily do around this time. And if you have any questions about that, I have Mr. Bass, the roads and drainage supervisor, here to address those concerns. Mr. Bass?
Hello, everybody. Long time since I've been in front of y'all here. Appreciate y'all. Usually this time of year, we have some summer helpers that we extend them into the fall. Being that we had this hurricane issue, we've been using extra help. We've been trying to get extra help as much as we can. We're a little short right now. One of the meter readers is out, and I'm losing a guy. He's shifting over there and a fill-in kind of role until the meter reader comes back. And it's always good to have extra help. Generally, what this is just an extension of the summer guys, but the summer guys were high school guys. They went back to work. One of them went to a southern school. One of them we were lucky enough to keep. He's a good kid, a good man, and young, and he's 19, and that's a good number for long-term employees. So hopefully, we lost Carl Dunn. Y'all may or may not remember him. He was a long-time guy that had a medical issue, and he's held out as long as he could, hoping that he would come back, but it's not happening. So he's no longer with us. So that's one of the positions that I'm hoping that Mr. Skelton will be able to slide into that. That's Calvin Skelton. The summer, the extension of the, as you know, Louisiana, we have growing season. It stays hot until December. And so we could use all the help we can get right now. And I appreciate y'all consideration.
Bruce, how many years, if you know, that Carl Dunn served the city of Port Allen?
Who's that?
Carl Dunn, how many years?
Yeah.
16?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Good job.
So he did retire with 16 and a half years or so.
Okay. I know he's been working for the city for a while, I just didn't know how many years.
Yeah, he's probably 63, I guess, now, and he worked hard, and he was a
Yeah, he
good,
was a good worker.
dependable guy. Yeah, he
Yes.
was trustworthy and good to have around. And we're going to miss him. I'm wishing
Most
him luck in his recovery.
Yes. Yeah, good man.
So anyway, with that happening, it's going to open a position, hopefully, for, well, it should be a position that is a budgeted position. This is not that's separate from what we're asking for here tonight, for the extra young, well, labor-type guys that will jump in and help out right now. Right now, we could use all we can. We're doing some cleanup with our hurricane stuff, and meanwhile, we're still trying to cut the grass and keep everything going, so appreciate y'all consideration.
Bruce, one more question I want to ask you. Well, I guess it's for the mayor. Mayor, I know, do we have to advertise for this part-time position, or can we use the application that we interviewed, the ones that we didn't hire? Can we go back to that application?
Yeah,
We have to okay, yeah. And how quick you need your workers, Bruce?
Beg your pardon?
How quick you need your workers?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yeah,
You might have to go back to the whole applications.
we have a lot of turnout whenever we apply. We had it's been, a few months back now, but we had like 25 applications in the last 2 months, and a lot of people out there looking for work, and we were lucky enough to get the guys we got, and hoping to keep them and shift one to a full-time, long-term guy. He's the young one, Skelton. He's a little welder type guy, but this is, again, it's not what I'm asking this about. This is, hopefully these guys will come in here and love the city so much they want to stay. We had a really good crew, probably one of the better crews. No knock on the guys before, but this was a really good summer crew we had. And 2 of them went back to high school, and 2 of them stayed longer. One of them went back to another schooling offer, and he may be back. That was
For welding, I think he went for?
both of them want to be welders, and one of them actually got the offer to go weld and learn, but he said he would like to come back later, and hopefully this might.
For the part-time position?
Yeah, he's young, and he's really young. He's almost too young, but he's a worker, and he's going to be something someday, and we need to start getting the young guys in. I'm old. I'm not talking nothing about age, but the youth move is good to get. They can handle this heat a lot more than I can, which ain't saying much.
Okay.
And just to clarify, we're required to advertise those jobs for 3 weeks. So we're gonna get the advertisement out as soon as you approve it next week at a council meeting. We're gonna try to get it published as soon as possible after that, and then let it run for 3 weeks and start interviews right away.
And Lance, I understand that you have to advertise, but just saying like with immediacy tell me what is it, like is something in place so you can't use prior applications? Even though I know you have to advertise, but those applications just null and void after that?
No, we don't we do not exclude prior applicants. We just have to advertise based on city ordinance policy. So that we add the applicants that we receive to the applications that we have. We let everyone know when they apply, especially when they get an interview, that we'll keep the application on file and notify them. But
if your ordinance say you advertise, then it'd be different if you interviewed 3, you didn't like it, and you wanted to go back to your resume pool. It's one of those things where the further you get away from your advertisement, the harder it is to look back at those resumes you've already received and say, now we're going to apply those to this new position that's open. I think it was, 3 months ago that y'all did that?
Well, not that long. But July? June. Yeah, July.
That's about 3 months.
Yeah. Well, I know it's July.
They run together, but we're about 3 months past that. So I mean, the better thing to do is just go ahead and see what you can get. You probably pull in some of those same resumes again, and you may pull in an even greater applicant pool depending on what the market is right now.
And we always accept applicants. Applications are always available. We always accept them. We just put them on the side until there's an opening, and we include everyone in the interview process.
Well, he said he's short-handed, and y'all doing part-time, just for those till, what, October to December?
Let me address that, because we did have that conversation, and it is my intention to come back. Well, it's my intention to come back and make those positions semi-permanent. That way we don't have to go through the process every time. We can authorize it for a certain number of months in the fiscal year, and then that way, when we need them, there will be permanently authorized positions that we can fill as needed, and we don't have to come back and do this process every time to get it approved. That's my recommendation to the mayor. We weren't ready to present that just yet, but since the conversation went there, I just thought I'd put it on your minds and let you know.
Say you need it.
Well, it'll definitely provide us a little bit more flexibility to address these types of concerns without having to go through the process of advertising every time.
Right, for
see,
part-time.
right, when we do a position that's not approved in advance, then we have to actually get permission from you all to create the position and then advertise and then fill it. But if we make it a permanent position, then at least it'll be on the books for a certain period of time, which we will monitor and utilize as necessary over the course of the fiscal year.
And what he's talking about is that each time we do the budget, we have a line item set part-time for 4 months each year.
Right.
Yeah, I understand what he's saying, I agree with that. Because, I mean, you know, he keeps talking about he need them now, and we got to go through all this whole process
Yeah.
for him to get help. So, I think that's a great idea. I don't know how the rest of the guys feel, but, I mean, he keeps, every time he look around, he need help, and we got to go through this whole process of advertising, interview, and everything else. And if the work is good and he wants them to stay, well, why not approve it?
And y'all did mention about the employees that submit applications and pass and was interviewed. And what we tell those employees, if they weren't selected and they see an opening, they gotta do is call and say, look, reactivate my application.
Right.
You want to put in a new application. All we do is pull that application and put it in the staff for that particular position.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll work. How you feel about that, Bruce?
Yeah, that's a great idea, and like the mayor said, whenever they apply, say, if you don't get it this time, don't give up. And it's happened before, the second time, the third time, gosh, that really shows he wants to be here, you know, that's the kind of guy I want, you know, and long-term people, and hopefully it turns into a permanent position for some of these guys, so, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, you getting ready to retire?
Oh, I got a ways to go.
Oh, okay.
I'm in a drop till November of 2022 next year.
So are you training someone to take your position, or are we gonna open up for?
We have a transition succession plan in place.
Okay. That's it?
Thank you.
Folks, appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Let's put that on the agenda item for next meeting. Item number 5, adjourn.
Item number 1, call to Finance Committee. Item number 1, call to order. Item number 2, establish a quorum. Item number 3, roll call.
Ms. Lacy?
Here.
Mr. Hubble?
Here.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Quorum present.
Item number 4, discuss introduction of a budget amendment to cover the cost of upgrading the city of Port Allen email system. Lance.
As you know, we brought this item up several times, and although we are prepared to address a budget amendment next week, we never actually talked about the cost. So we just wanted to put it back on the docket so we could give an update. And I think I got these quotes here. So the recommendation that we will be submitting would be to purchase our own server and to install that server to address our email system. And the cost of that is estimated at $20,004.99. And that way we actually own the equipment at $20,004.99. We would own that equipment, and we would not have to buy licenses on a yearly basis. we would only have to buy software licenses if and when the software provider, which in this case would be Microsoft, stops providing support for that particular version of the software. And in that instance, the server, the useful life is roughly 5 years, but that's negotiable. You know, you don't have to stop using it immediately, but you just have to kind of be prepared that at some point in time, the equipment does become obsolete, the software does become obsolete. But either way, we do need to make this change in order to come into compliance with the data retention policies of the state and for ourselves as well. So,
Lance, what about ongoing possible maintenance?
that will be addressed as part of our maintenance contract with Essential.
Okay.
Essential Solutions will be providing the hardware and the software, and once we purchase it, it comes under our umbrella, under our managed services umbrella. So we just have to buy the equipment because we don't have any of it at this point in time, and the software. So.
And Elliot, excuse me, I know you know a lot about this. You, our technology guy. But what would you say about the system? I just want to, I know you're very knowledgeable.
I do have concern about the purchase of a Exchange server. Is essentially what it is because of some recent security hacks that came about with self-hosted Exchange servers. I personally would probably recommend the Office 365 government tier as opposed, but you have to look at the pricing per month, the cost, what would be beneficial for the city, because like we said, like Lance said before, it does cost per user. The cost is roughly just over $8 per user. In fact, I did the math last night, and that's $800 per month, roughly $9,000 a year. So you have to weigh that cost versus the one-time cost, and if they say they can secure the server, that's on the IT consultant to be at their work to secure our server. And once again, that looks at the security part of server 4, the city side, the police side. You just have to take those issues into account.
And just to, I guess, address that concern, the Essential Solutions, our technology partner, did present that option, okay? And the initial investment on that option is roughly $10,000. But $64.90 of that is a yearly recurring charge, as long as you use that option. It would cost us $6,490 every year to provide the number of addresses that we currently have. And so over the course of even if there's a server's only a 5-year useful life, you're talking about $10,000 today plus $6,500 every year for the next 4 years. So it's a significantly greater sum than the $20,000 option. Now, Essential provides our security as well. So they currently provide the security to the city system. So Mr. Dogan and I had a conversation about this when we met earlier this year about this issue, and his concerns were taken into consideration. We discussed it with the provider, and these are the two options they presented. So if you want to, and essentially, just to give you some background, the difference would be we have a server downstairs that we host here, and we own the server and we own the software. With Exchange, it's the same software. It's all Microsoft. The difference is that Microsoft hosts the system, and that's why you have to pay them every year for the license, because that's how they make money. So, of course, over 5 years, we're talking about $35,000 versus $20,000 for the other option today. And that $20,000 may be less because some of that is installation, and that number varies. They'll quote 16 to 20 hours at $100 an hour, because that is not included in our managed services arrangement, but sometimes it takes less. So it could be, 2 20 hours less, and it goes down by $2,000. So you're free to put whatever option you want on the agenda to vote on. If you want us to have Microsoft do the hosting, we can do that, but just be prepared to increase the budget every year at the current price. Right now, that's $6,500. Next year, it could be $7,500, whatever Microsoft decides to charge at that point in time. So,
I just want us to be protected, because these hackers, they have gotten
oh yeah,
real sophisticated, and we have a lot of information that's being put in there, with the police department, with the city, like a lot. I just want to make sure we protect them at any cost. It doesn't matter to me.
No doubt.
It's worth it.
No
just
doubt.
to make sure we are protected.
No doubt, and I would suggest, we've had extensive conversations with Essential Solutions. They recommended purchasing our own because of the difference in the initial investment. And I would imagine that in making that recommendation, they are aware that they're responsible for our security. So if there was something that occurred, we plan to hold them fully accountable for any failures that occur going forward. Thank you.
We'll put that on the agenda for next week. Item number 5, discuss replacement of the iTron meter reader handheld equipment and accompanying software due to determination of support for the current equipment and software by the vendor. Plan.
And once again, we discussed this item as well previously, and there are two options. One option is not really feasible for us because it would require us to change out every meter that we have in the city. So the option that we are suggesting includes, it tops out at about $20,000, but
20 your number tonight, huh?
unfortunately, I think it's the vendor's number. I mean, if I could get it for less, I would. However, that's purchasing the equipment that they are recommending, which would be compatible to the handhelds we use now. But we do have the option of using a cell phone input system, which would require us to purchase cell phones for the meter readers. However, they are significantly cheaper than the handheld units that's part of this. So we just wanted to put a number on it so you can consider it, and then once we finalize the equipment and the software, we'll come back. But we don't anticipate it being more than this because this includes the two handheld units like we have now, which is be the next generation of those.
Could be 2 new handhelds that come with
At this price, yes, but the cell phone solution is less, it's cheaper. So we've been instructed to explore that option, and once we get the final number, we'll be able to tell you A for handhelds, B for cell phones, total price, and move forward with the transition.
I think it'd be best if I would get those workers that utilize those equipment to give an input on that. I don't know what that is in the cell phone.
We've had
like
discussions.
the durability of it for sure.
We've had discussions, but once again, you all have to appropriate the money. So if you all want to purchase new handheld units, just say the word, and we don't have to consider the cell phones at all. The handheld units roughly run about $2,600 each, while the cell phones could probably be acquired for $1,000 or less. So we're just trying to be good stewards of the public fisc, and however,
Mr.
it's
Bruce,
in your court.
You have something to say, Mr. Bruce? You're looking like,
Oh, well,
okay.
But that's the gist of where we are. If you want to do the handhelds, by all means, give me 20 grand and we'll make it happen. I'm sorry?
I don't think that cell phone will last.
Okay.
We're trying to spend our money smart, huh?
Hey, we're just providing all the options.
I hear you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Item number 6, adjourned.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening, Mayor.
I got a few things on the mayor correspondence. First of all, Hurricane Ida She came through. It wasn't as bad as we predicted. We got a lot of wind, a lot of damage as far as falling trees, power lines. Everybody know about the outages. We finally got Cox back on service through the majority of the city, and we finally got electricity hooked up. Some people still might be out. That's inside the city limits of Port Allen. And right now we battling the gas shortage because everybody was out getting gas thinking that this was going to be a 2 to 3 week incident, and it turned out to be a couple of days. So other than that, we was blessed. I don't want the public to know that I spoke with representatives today. They did service the city of Port Allen. Unfortunately, they did not and will not pick up tree branch debris. When I asked about the outer court, they said today they was only picking up outer court wood and furniture only. The tree debris is considered a hurricane occurrence, and that's gonna have to be contracted out. It's part of the contract. So either we gonna hire Republic to do it, or we hire our own contractor to do it. I'm not gonna sit and wait on Republic. Last year we hired our own contractors. They did an excellent job. They used the parish facility to burn power to get rid of it. So that's the route that we're gonna follow, because otherwise we'll be waiting till next Wednesday. So we're gonna do that throughout the rest of the week and try to get most of these brush piles picked up. I passed through the city today. They said they was picking up furniture, and I still see a lot of furniture. Okay, so I'm still disappointed that they didn't live up to their part of the bargain. So, but they always got the excuse that they picked up more than what that need to be picked up. Other than the trash was picked up. They started early. They got by 9 o'clock, probably half of the city picked up, and I don't know what time they finished this afternoon, but the majority of the garbage is picked up. So I want to tell the citizens of the city to be patient. We are going to, try to get as much of the debris up, and we're working with the parish so that everybody will be taken care of. The next thing I want to bring to your attention is the water and gas. We have one employee that's getting ready to retire in October, so there will be an opening for that position. The next item is game time. Game time has started the installation of the exercise equipment at the foot of the levee at Centennial Park. Due to the weather, they have not completed the whole process. They have to put in the floor mats and the canopy that goes over the equipment. So they should be finished with that before in the middle of September. If y'all pass by California 8th Street, you notice I got a portable pump at the manhole cover. I had a pump that failed at that particular location. We're in the process of getting bids from contractors to see how much it's going to cost us to install a new pump. I can tell you right off the bat, it cost us $2,500 just to pull a pump out. So it's not cheap. I don't know how much the pump's going to cost us, but we're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of probably $5,000 to $8,000 complete the project. So I just want to bring that to your attention. But it's going to be an inconvenience for the citizen who passed at that particular intersection for a little while until we can resolve that problem. So we just ask everybody to be patient. Next, we interviewed for one opening in the sewer position. We had 4 applicants, 3 showed up, and by next council meeting, we should have at least 1 applicant to choose from for that position. And other than that, Mr. Bass had 1 vehicle that was totaled in electrical fire. His engine caught a fire. That was like a spare unit that came from another department, which gave him access to it instead of us auctioning it off, and gave him a little room to put to divide his people up so they can be throughout the city. So we might be looking at, you know, buying another vehicle, you know, to help him out with, you know, getting the grass cut and everything else done in roads and drainage. But once we get a figure from the insurance company as to how much that vehicle costs, then we'll come to you to see if we need to do a budget amendment in reference to that vehicle. And other than that, that's it, unless anybody have any other questions.
Yeah, I have a question.
Can you give us the update on the bathroom at Corn Park?
Yes, ma'am, we still working with the developer, and right now I'm not too pleased with them because we've been working on that too long. So once they finish this project on Corn Street, we're gonna probably bid this up one at the levy out because, or sign up another contract because we have to put limitations on the time span it takes them to complete that project.
So how much, you know how much longer they have on it? I mean, they complete the inside yet or what?
Yeah, the inside is basically complete other than the painting and flooring that we have to do. And then we have to connect the utilities, and part of that is that sewer line that's coming from 14th Street that Mr. Lancer talked about, that he wants to extend down Florida Street to 12th Street, and that's where the connection will be.
Okay, and one more thing. Is there any way we can get any communication about the planning and zoning meeting and time and what they come and listen to, or can we get any information about their meeting after?
Yeah, all the planning and zoning meetings, unless it's a special meeting, are held on the last. Is it last?
It's the last
When is it?
Wednesday? Yeah.
Last Wednesday?
Yeah, anytime there's a substantive item on their agenda, it's required to be advertised at least 15 days before. So that's when we send out the notice. They haven't had an item since the last, what was that, January, I think, when they did that re-subdivision of 10th Street.
Right.
They haven't had anything to consider since then, so.
Okay, so they have another agenda?
Well, they have, the agenda is just for them to approve the minutes of the last meeting. There's
Right.
nothing substantive.
Okay.
Everything that they consider substantively has to be advertised.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, except for this last meeting, we had the people from West View Crossing.
Right, yeah, that was just an announcement. There was nothing to vote on. They just wanted to come in and give an update on the status of the project, and it was somewhat requested late. It wasn't, something that we planned for months on end. They've made significant progress on the development. They have good portion of the drainage in and some of the sewer. They've started the installation of their water line connection. So they just wanted to update planning and zoning on where they were in anticipation of when they were coming back for additional development. But it required no votes. There were no votes and nothing.
That's good.
No issues.
Did y'all hear anything about the development for the 14th Street, or not 14th, Louisiana Avenue and 10th Street?
Yeah, we had a meeting with those. You want to take it?
Go ahead.
Yeah, we had a meeting with them, about 3 weeks ago. They submitted their preliminary plans for their sewer infrastructure. We submitted them to our engineer who reviewed them and made some notes. And we had a meeting to discuss those notes. They have not yet submitted new plans that are sufficient and have been approved by our engineer. So, but they're conversing amongst themselves. And once Mr. Erico gives the okay for what they plan to install for sewer infrastructure, then we'll authorize that process to begin. But I think they've already done some work over there.
Oh, yeah.
Some utility work has been done, I think, by Entergy.
Okay.
And Aaron prefers that Entergy do their work first, because once he goes in and does his water and gas infrastructure, then they have a habit of tearing it up if it's in there already. So we let Entergy go. We're gonna let the developer do their sewer, and then Aaron's gonna come back and do what he needs to do in order to get that process completed.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No problem.
Well, my question was just from, I guess, the concerns and misconceptions. Why that the lights, because we don't have no control over these things. Why were the lights out in some part of the city and not other parts of the city?
You talking about energy lights?
Yes,
Because of down power lines in certain areas. And
we
that's,
don't have any control over that. correct?
Right, none whatsoever. That's our energy.
Okay.
In fact, we had a major one right before the storm hit. A guy with a dump truck had left his bed up and he tore all the lights on North 15th Street from Maryland Street up to Court Street. And it took, I got to give energy props. They came in throughout that day, worked throughout the night, and had the people back up and running. And then they came back the next day to finish the job. So,
I think they did a wonderful job.
one of those days.
It was like right before the storm.
Right,
Yeah, it was kind of.
I did see him on the corner, but I didn't know what had happened.
right.
Reminder, Port Allen and Brewley play Friday.